Good evening, everyone. Welcome to day 5 of CSI sponsored workshop on Internet of Medical Things, Challenges, Solutions. Today we have a speaker. Speaker Dr. Sangaratna Godbole. Before Dr. Godbole will start his lecture, let me introduce Dr. Godbole to this to participant. Dr. Sangaratna Godbole did his MTech and PhD from National Institute of Technology, Raulkela, in the year of 2013 and 2017. He worked as a researcher in the duration of August 2017 to January 2018 in School of Computing, National University, Singapore. Also, he worked as a postdoctoral research fellow, worked in the year to February, in the duration of February 2018 to June 2020 in School of Computing, National University of Singapore. Currently, Dr. Godbole is working as an assistant professor in the Department of Computer Science Engineering, National Institute of Technology, Warangal, India. Dr. Godbole is interested in using program analysis technique to solve problems of software testing. Basically, he is focusing on MCDC testing, dynamic symbolic execution. He is an active member of TRESEX research group. I will share that group link in the chat box after this introduction. He has several publications in international conferences and journals that could be top 10 conferences in all over the world. Notable publications include ICAC 2019. It is one of the top conferences in the field of software engineering. FASC 2020 and SPE and CSI Journal Elsevier. He has a H index of 8 and our I10 index of 7 as per the Google Research Scholar. So with this small introduction, I request Dr. Godbole to give his lecture. Dr. Godbole, please.
Uh, Thank you, Dr. Sanjay, for wonderful introduction. So let me share my slides first. Dr. Sanjay, is it visible?
Please coming. Yes. Please go ahead.
Visible, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Please go ahead.
Thanks, Dr. Sanjay, for the my introduction. And today's topic is software testing methodologies for medical instruments. So basically, my domain is on, as Dr. Sanjay mentioned, is software testing, and basically focusing on MCDC, which is code coverage criterion in software testing. To solve MCDC, we require to generate automated test cases. So to do that, I adopted the technique of program analysis. So basically, I'm working in both area, program analysis as well as software testing, and have let's say combining both the domains, I'm solving my problem. But let's say if you see the applications to my work, whatever I'm doing is nothing but very relevant to this event, which is actually on medical things, right? So we all know that medical, let's say, domain require a lot of software in their devices, right? Now there is no devices without software which is useful, right? Means everything is automated. You have a lot of monitors, you have ventilators, you have measuring kit, like the blood pressure measuring kit also is now electronic. So wherever you have such devices, you actually require softwares. So once softwares are coming into the picture, then you must be thinking that if software goes fail and if it doesn't work, then what will happen? That's the problem. Means if it doesn't work, then your device will not work. If device will not work, and if it is directly connected to patient, and then definitely patient will lose his life, and it's a direct human life issue. That's why such softwares are called as critical application. And wherever critical applications are coming to the picture, testing is very, very expensive and very, very important. And there actually this MCDC, the topic what actually I am going to explore today, is come into the picture. Okay. So let us go ahead with my presentation. I have made some set of slides which actually has let's say mix of domains. It will be having medical domain, it will be having software engineering, software testing, and program analysis as well. Okay. So this is the seminar outline. Introduction. We'll see some introduction in both domains. Then background, and I did some let's say one mini survey with industrial practitioners. So we will see that what is that survey is about, and how medical software testing tools are actually being used in industry, and what are their objectives. Then we'll see, let's say one example with MCDC, the core MCDC, that how it is working and how we should actually evaluate MCDC coverage. And automating MCDC is very difficult. So in my section 5, where it will be proposed idea, and I will be giving, let's say, 3 solutions to generate automated test case generation for MCDC. And we have published papers on, let's say, these techniques. So we will, let's say, I will be showing some results which have been published, and at last we will be concluding my presentation, followed by question and answers. Okay, so this is my group TracerX. First person is Professor Jobson. He's a full professor at NUS Singapore. Second person is Dr. Rasul, who is actually working as compiler software engineering at Hawaii, Canada, and he was postdoc in NUS. And myself, you already got the introduction. And the fourth person is Mr. Lin. He was research assistant, and he did his master's from Japan. And we were actually working with TracerX, and very soon we are going to launch our tool. So you can go with this link, and Dr. Sanjay will share this slide, and you can have these slides. Okay. So come to very basic definition of computer science. So when we are saying computer science, so we actually talk about computer science as well as information technology. Okay. So it's the study of computers and computational system, which is what computer science means. And information technology is nothing but the approach and application of computing technology. Now, at this moment, we there will be no smartphone or modern aircraft without computer science and ITI. We require these technologies. And as soon as you have such, let's say, devices, wherever it is automotive or it is medical, you will require this computer science as well as information technology. Okay, as I was saying you regarding the health and medical instrument, you see some critical, let's say, softwares are there. It must be, I think, ventilator, which actually using some oxygen supply, and it is helping patient to save his life, kind of, right? So this display, we are not from, let's say, I'm not from medical domain, but by looking it looks like very critical, and we can imagine how software would have been developed for this, and testing will be more difficult for this. Okay, so these pictures actually I have kept to show you that how medical softwares are working and how we are actually dealing with softwares. Okay, now our domain is in software systems and programming languages, as I already mentioned it. So coming to software engineering, then if you all are bachelor degree, let's say, holders, and in computer science, so definitely this software engineering core subject matter encountered, and there you have seen this software development life cycle, where you first gather all the requirements, then you go for designing those requirements. Based on that design, you are coding it, means you are implementing with your favorite languages, then you must require to test the code, whatever actually you have written, and then you are deploying. And after all these phases, you have production support. We are calling it as maintenance. Then you are saying that this particular software has been developed or manufactured, and you are deploying it. Okay. So this is what software engineering, basic software engineering, what we know up to now. Okay. And now we have to relate it with medical domain. So let's say testing of medical instruments, right? So as I already let's say said you, the cost of software failure in lost time to market from regulatory delays, brand reputation, litigation, and even loss of life. Means if ventilator is actually attached to patient, and if ventilator gets failed because of software, then there will be no oxygen supply, and definitely the person will die. Okay. So this is what control system works. Means I just wanted to tell you that how control systems are very important and how software is controlling the actual devices. Okay. So coming to that, when we are talking about different domains, so is software engineering techniques, is software testing technique is common for every domain? So answer is no. Means we have specific domains with their specific standardizations. Okay. So if it is aircraft, so we have DO-178B and C. Both domains are there for avionics system. When we talk about let's say medical domain, then we have this standardization, that is nothing but your IEC 62304, which is actually for medical device software. And this standardization approves your software, and if your software is has been developed based on this standardization, then and only they are launching it, and you can deploy on the devices. Okay. So this is what actually it is very important to obey the standardized. It is not like I have one company and I have developed one software, and I myself is developing it in very cheaper, let's say, price, and I'm deploying it and I'm selling in the market. This is not correct. This is not possible. If you are actually developing software, so you have to get approval from such standardization, and these standardizations are actually approving your software. After that only you can. Okay, so what HDLC we saw in my previous slide, that was basic software engineering, and then it is getting regulated with this IC 62304 software development process. Common thing is your let's say everything is all the phases are common. Means I'm not saying that they have created their own SDLC, no, but their risk management system and their let's say type of requirement design, so they are actually based on their specific domain. If it is a medical, so IEC 62203 means focus on medical only. Okay. So ultimately, if you can see from these numbers, so you can see that seventh number has software risk management. Okay. And in top layer, you have customer needs satisfied. You mean you are entering from this left side, and then you are processing your all the phases. After releasing, you have to check with, let's say, customer whether it has been satisfied or not. Okay. Now, I'm skipping this slide, but you can see a footnote there, and you can explore it more. Just I put this slide with this text to show that how actually people are working, and people they are trying to solve the problems. Okay, so let me skip this. Come to strategies, that how medical strategies can be, let's say software testing strategies can be useful for medical thing. So you can see that devising an effective medical device testing strategy. These are several strategies what actually they have been made, let's say listed in those websites. So I have just collected here to show you that there are different strategies. So applying medical device testing strategies, microprocessor testing, of course, because devices are there, and it's like not only software testing is required, they require hardware testing as well. So microprocessor testing must be based on that. But that microcontroller software, that assembly code definitely must get tested before actual device is getting tested, right? So automating the test and validation process and verification test. Okay. So this is what VNV medical devices means, verification and validation model for medical devices. You can see that we have user needs on top of this. So it usually looks like a waterfall model. If you have read software engineering course, then you can see that this is kind of waterfall model course. But in verification, we are focusing on this design phase, means before testing. Then you see that if user needs are there, and if you are, let's say, trying to design those requirement, then design input will be the phase, then after that design process will be the phase, then design output will come. After that, you have verification. So based on design output, you are actually verifying it, again going back to design input. Then this is making one cycle for verification cycle. Okay. After, let's say, verification is satisfied, then you are, let's say, testing phase has not been shown here, but you are, let's say, deploying it. It kind of, you are applying all those software on your devices, and after that you are validating it whether the software written are good or not. Okay, then you are going to user needs, and based on review you are actually supplying this software. So this is what verification and validation. So you can see verification is within design phase, and validation is after, let's say, testing phase, you can see, or after design. Okay. Now coming to particular topic what actually I'm working on. This is program analysis. So I should be a little bit quicker on this area so that I can come to the idea of implementation. So basically, program analysis is nothing but before, let's say, actual development. If somebody is actually saying that before testing, means before analyzing the software, one can actually verify it. Okay. So at the beginning of every evaluation, somebody can say that, okay, I know our project works, but some person says, no, 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 you don't know about this. So why it is so? Because if you do verification, then you have some proof that this project will work or not. Okay. So ultimately, verification deals with evidence. Before actual execution or actual testing, it shows some evidence whether your software will work or not. Okay. So that is nothing but your program analysis. But program analysis has a lot of different hierarchies. So this is one of the hierarchies actually. Okay. Verification, that I need to say. Then you come to, let's say, definition of program analysis. Then we can define it as like this: can program analysis can be performed without executing the program, that is static program analysis, or during runtime, means dynamic program analysis. Okay, means static is very lightweight, but dynamic is very heavyweight. So dynamic actually required to explore the execution tree, and you required to explore the path. Then you are generating test cases. But in static program analysis, you have some, let's say, control flow graph, and then you try to verify it. If it is working, okay. It is not working, it will alarm you. Okay. And the third kind of technique can be combination of both. You first do static and then do dynamic. Okay. Then what was the traditional use of program analysis? So program analysis were used for program optimization and to reduce software usage. But now modern usage says verification, testing, debugging, synthesis, vulnerability, performance estimation, and to ensure the correctness, that the program will do what it's supposed to do. Otherwise, our objective was something else and we coded something else and we are getting something else. So that should not be the case. So we must have some proof whether whatever we are doing is based on a requirement specification or not. Okay. This is coverage criteria, where actually there are a lot of coverage, and basically two main strong coverages are here: path coverage and MCDC coverage. There is a huge debate going on whether path coverage subsumes MCDC or MCDC subsumes path coverage. So that's very huge debate. Actually, we usually see on research papers and over this online platform. Okay, but the thing is, both are important, and both are sometimes subsumed and sometimes do not subsume. Okay, so ultimately goal is we have to do both. What common thing actually I have found that MCDC is actually useful for source code. Means let's say high level language, we have C, C++, Java. So we can try to find code coverage for that high level language means written program. But in path coverage, usually we are doing with assembly code, and you can imagine one execution tree is there, and then you are trying to explore the path. So there you will have different paths of sequences, okay, and you want to explore that, and both are important. So MCDC sometimes is very difficult at assembly code, and at high level path coverage is easy. I'm not saying this is not easy, but it is possible. But both are important in that sense. But let's say one metric is there, all paths coverage. Okay, so that is the strongest one where actually MCDC gets subsumed. But nowadays, all achieving all path coverage is nearly impossible because it has exponential number of paths need to be explored. Okay, excuse me, just thank you. So, so basically, in path coverage track and MCDC track, you can see down level you have some common coverage criteria, which are actually, let's say, which are subordinate to this stronger criteria. I will show you how they are subordinate or how they are weaker. So this is the table I borrowed from NASA tutorial. Here you can see I have kept all let's say source coverage only. So the weaker most criterion is statement coverage. Okay, it means that if somebody says my code has 100% statement coverage, but nobody will actually look at it, or nobody will bother it actually. Okay, this is okay, 100% statement coverage is fine. Means you have long predicate of 5 lines, you are saying okay, I reached here. But what about the content inside that predicate that you have not tested? So statement coverage will not check that particular thing, right? So nobody will bother for statement coverage. What about decision coverage? Yeah, somewhat okay. Means you are trying to reach each decision, whether this if statement has reachable, has reached or not. That you are actually looking for. It is somewhat okay. What about condition coverage? Within one predicate, means within one decision, you have several atomic conditions. If all the atomic conditions have been covered for true and false, then you can have some confidence, means more confidence as compared to statement coverage and decision coverage. Then it is also fine. Then decision coverage and condition coverage, you can let's say make hybridization of both the techniques, and you can make it condition decision coverage. Still, you are not that much of a strong. But as soon as you come to MCDC, that is modified condition decision coverage. Please note, MCDC stands for modified condition decision coverage. Okay, ultimately, basic thing is decision coverage only, but you require to do something with condition. So that's plugging or modifying the condition, not modifying, flipping the condition, toggling the condition, and then checking whether the output is getting changed or not. So this is what MCDC does. After that, you have multiple condition coverage, okay, which is the strongest one that actually I was saying, and this is somewhat equivalent to all path coverage on let's say assembly side I was expressing, right? So this is the strongest one, but this is somewhat impractical. So people usually not go for multiple condition coverage. What is the benefit with MCDC? MCDC is giving you linear number of test cases, n plus one. Okay, just imagine for a code, if somebody is saying that okay, I have tested this program and I have 500 test cases to test this program, and somebody will say that I have tested this program and MCDC coverage is let's say something, and based on 20 test cases I have tested it. So 20 test cases and 500 test cases, This is a very huge difference, right, in the number, and how much time actually a person or a tool has, let's say, spent to generate those test cases is also very important. So if more number of test cases will be there, then you have to spend more time, and which is not recommendable. That's why everyone, let's say, thinking to reduce or minimize the test cases, and based on the smart techniques they are doing that. Either it is, let's say, MCDC, or after MCDC also you're trying to minimize it or prioritize it. So a lot of domains are there after coming to this. But on the high level, let's say MCDC or multiple condition coverage, MCDC itself giving you a linear number of test cases. Okay, so this is the benefit of MCDC that we have. So this is what theory thinks. You can actually go through with the slides. But now come to let's say actual practical definition of MCDC. Okay, so let's say there is one analogy. These two girls were talking regarding the MCDC. So Lucy says, "What is MCDC? What is modified condition decision coverage?" Philippa says there is one analogy. So she asked to imagine something what actually she wants to explain. So she said, just to imagine one light controlled by three switches. Okay, there is a light and three switches are there. Okay, then Lucy trying to imagine that picture that one bulb is there and three switches are there. Then Philippa tries to map it. Then she says that we need to show that each light switch can independently turn the light on or off. It means if the state of light was, let's say, turned on, and if you change the state of switch to off, then your light is actually getting turned off, and you can see that other two switches are, let's say, as it is. Then you are using third switch and you are pressing some, let's say, pressing the button, that switch, and then again the light is getting turned on from turned off. So what does it mean? It means by doing something with switches, you are actually getting result. You are getting either light turn or on or off, kind of, or off to on. So the same thing can be applied to this decision. So how it relates? I mean, Lucy is actually somewhat curious to know that how you can practically, how you can map this practical example to the software example. Then then Philippa described that your light is nothing but the result of entire decision, means entire predicate. Okay, light means if it is true, means if decision is true, you can map it to light is turned on, and if it decision is false, you can say that light is turned off, kind of. Okay, so true and false, and turn on and turn off. And what about switches? So switches are nothing but your atomic conditions. So you are trying to change the state of switches or toggling the conditions, both are same. So after toggling the atomic condition, if outcome of predicate gets changed, then definitely that particular atomic condition is an important condition, is actually independently affecting the entire predicate's output. So you have to count such atomic condition. Okay, so if in a predicate you have three atomic condition and all of them are actually showing such important feature, then your coverage for that particular predicate is 100% MCDC. Okay, so that is actually my intention to tell you about MCDC through this pattern. Now, coming toward, let's say, reliability and coverage, let's say, chart, I met Aditya Mathur. He is a full professor and a very big professor in software testing domain. So he described me about this, and actually he referred to his book to just check it. So is it correct whether your coverage is high or your reliability is high? Okay, or your let's say you are saying you are 100% reliable, your coverage is 100% reliable, or your reliability is less and your coverage is high, or your coverage is less and reliability is high. So what is the situation? Means what actually is actually required for let's say customers. So this is what the chart describes, that desirable situation is both. Means you should have higher coverage and you should have higher reliability. Means someone says that, okay, I have 90% of MCDC, but I have not found all the targets, means all the bugs I have not explored. So this is not acceptable. Otherwise, it will come in undesirable state. You can see, sorry, it will come in, let's say, suspect model, that your coverage is high and reliability is less. You will be in suspect model. Somebody will say that, okay, I have all the, let's say, all the errors I have explored, but my coverage is, let's say, less. Your coverage is less, it means that you have not explored everything. It means you are in the risky state. Okay. Somebody says that, okay, I have coverage less, as well as I require to explore some more target. It means you are not prepared to launch it. So you will be in this undesirable state. So what is the output? Output should be the desirable, wherever you must have maximum coverage and maximum reliability. So now, let's say, going toward MCDC, I already explained this verbally, that we require n+1 test cases which are linear, and multiple condition requires 2 to the power n test cases, and deals with your atomic condition. So you can see that 2 to the power n will be exponential, with actually, let's say, leads to combinatorial explosion issue, path explosion issue. Okay, and n+1 will not, and it will be very suitable. That's why MCDC is an, let's say, second most strongest criterion, but it is very much useful. Okay, so this is what I have theory thing for MCDC. You can go through with that. Now coming toward the application of this, as I already showed you some pictures, but these are some medical safety application where you can see that I am actually not sure whether it is blood pressure let's say, measuring device or not. I don't know about this, but as assumed, this is blood pressure measuring device. Okay, and this is sonography instrument, where you can see, let's say, some operation or some steps are there. This is microscope kind of. My question, my intention to put all this thing is like, whether all the softwares are, let's say, important to test. Okay, whether all softwares are important to test for MCDC particular per se. So if you will ask me personally, so my intention is that no, it is not that much of, let's say, mandatory for all kind of software, but it will be mandatory for catastrophic category, failure condition category software. So this will be in level A. So there are certain categories of your failures where actually you can see no effect, minor effect, major effect, or hazardous effect, and catastrophic effect. So they have categorized in this area, let's say, label A to catastrophic, then B, C, D, E, and this is the priority based on your condition failure. Catastrophic, what I can say, definitely your oxygen, that ventilator controlling machine, something. So the software used in those machines definitely will be level A, and their MCDC will be very much useful. But if it is, I think, for blood pressure measurement kit, if some normal software or some small software is actually there to use, so I'm not sure whether it is correct or not. But MCDC may not be required for that, because it is a just measurement device which is actually showing you that how, what will be your blood pressure or something. Definitely, this is somewhat okay, but it is not catastrophic. Your human means, after checking blood pressure, if it is showing some number, okay, so you are not taking the life of that patient, right? You can use some other blood pressure, or you can use mechanical blood pressure management. Means you have some option, right? But you are not, instantly, a human will not actually lose his life, right? But it may become under, let's say, minor or major kind of failure condition. So this table actually I put here to show you that all softwares are not actually required. There are some categories of software, and wherever human lives are involved, those are actually important software. Now come to the survey. I actually, before going to survey, let me make one disclaimer that I did this, let's say, survey with few practitioner, industrial practitioner, to show, and we are not promoting any tool, or we are not say, I'm not saying any tool is good or bad or something. This is just a small survey we made, and this is just only for academic purposes. Okay, so no commercial thing as well. So coming to the survey, I had several questions with let's say industry practitioners, and I asked them, and based on those results, I will be showing to you. So my first question was: is MCDC mandatory? So 100% people said yes, this is mandatory criterion. Means mandatory for their domain. I mean to say, okay, if they are working in medical or they are working in at automotive, okay, and wherever they were working, so they said that okay, MCDC is actually mandatory for critical safety application. Okay, which domain means I asked practitioner which domain you are working for. I wanted to see where actually MCD is very useful. So I have seen actually for avionics, 81.3% people said that they are working in avionics, then automotive, then business critical, industrial, medical, and railway. This definitely be possible that I have not contacted medical oriented software testers, that's why this number is there. But you can believe that medical domain is also very let's say huge domain where actually this MCDC is useful. Okay, so even though consider that medical or avionics domain, they all are same, and there may be some percentage let's say more or less, but it doesn't matter. What matter is whenever they are using any tool, okay, so whether it is useful or not, and how much difficult they are facing to use those tools. Okay, so basically we all know that in software testing there is a matter of automatic and manual testing technique. So everything is not automated till yet. So you can see that I asked whether your tool is automatic or manual. So 20% people said that fully automated, their tool is fully automated, and this orange color says 46.7% says manually, and 33.3% people says practitioner says no, partially automated, means they have something to do with the tool, and after that if they are not getting what they require, then they are using manual process. Okay, then our question was that which strategy they follow if they miss any MCDC test cases. Then they said that finding missing MCDC test cases manually, so there are 78.6%. What the question says that if tool is not that much of capable to do everything, then how you are dealing with those missing MCDC test cases. So the huge number of people say that that 78.6% people say that we are manually finding those missing MCDC test cases. Okay, so 7.1% people, let's say 1% is all there. So use another tool, then fix the issue in the code. Is 6 people said that, and after that fix the issue in the code is also again let's say manual or using of any other tool. Okay, so this is what strategies usually people follow. So these are the list of commercial and open source tool. I don't know whether open source is there or not, but these are commercial tools where actually they use to generate MCDC coverage. Okay, so here you can see 58.8% percentage for LDRA tool, which is actually quite promising tools they are actually having, and other tools are also very good, but this is what actually I'm saying. I have not reached the users who are actually using these tools. That could be the possibilities. Okay, so ultimately my last question was that when they are generating MCDC test cases, so whether they are using any symbolic execution or not, which is actually let's say program analysis techniques. Symbolic execution is program analysis. So I wanted to ask them whether program analysis they have used for their tools or not. Okay, so 81.3% people say that they are not sure, and this red color percentage people say that no, and 12.5% people say that yes they are using. But ignore this 12.5, but you can see that 81.3% is a huge, and it shows that symbolic execution was actually not in practice. Okay, that's why our work and our idea comes into the picture to tell that symbolic execution, that's a program analysis technique, is actually useful for software testing purposes. Okay. Now, I think I should skip this basic thing. These are the thing what actually I explained you in the picture. So, coming to this particular example, let us quickly see that how MCDC can be generated. So let's say I have a piece of code where if predicate says A and B both are, let's say, atomic condition. If it is yes, then statement 1, and if it is no, then it is, let's say, statement 2 get executed. So table 1 says basically I have to have let's say all possible combinations, right? 1 2 3 4 4 combination can be there, 2 to the power 2. So you can have 4 combinations there. But out of these 4 combination, you want to check whether conditions are interesting or independently affecting or not. You have to see this. Okay. So to do this, I should see. I should see this. Let's say this table 2, where I have 4 test cases, and there are 2 atomic conditions. So I am going to extend this table. Okay. So use this one if atomic condition A and B, they have true or true as their truth values, and their result says true. Okay. So I have 3 rules to find MCDC test cases. First thing is you have to toggle the current atomic condition. Second, you have to fix other condition as it is. Third, I have to check whether results are getting affected or not. Okay, these 3 rules we have to keep in mind. So if you come to this test case number 1, you have true and true for let's say you have true and true for these 2 atomic condition, right? And your answer is true. You check with another test case, you have to see the pair. So here you can see A has not toggled, so you will skip that. You see false is toggled from true for A, then you will consider it. Check the other rule where it says B should be fixed, means B should not change the value. So here you can see that true is remain as true only. Okay, and by this 2 rules, third rule you need to check whether result is getting changed or not from the older result. So earlier it was true and now it is making false. What it says that test case ID 3 and test case ID 1 can make a pair of MCDC to show that A is an independently affecting condition. Then you can write TC3 against TC1 and TC1 against TC3, and at last TC1 and TC3 both are responsible for atomic condition A. And by the same thing you can do for B as well. For test case 1 and test case 2, you can work it out. Okay, and you can check. Ultimately what you are going to do, you are going to take the let's say unique of these test case IDs. You need to take unique of this test case ID TC1 TC1, TC2 and TC3. So you can see that this test case 4 is already drop out, means you ignored this 4 test case, right? So from 4 test case you actually came to 3 test cases, right? Now let us see bigger example where I have one predicate with 3 atomic condition and some logical operators are there, A and B or C. Dr. Sanjay, what I'm highlighting here, are you able to see that? Or I should use some pen? Hello? Hello?
Yes, we can see, sir.
That highlight thing is able to see, right? Okay.
Yes,
So
sir.
I
Yes,
mean
sir.
to say that there is one predicate and there are 3 atomic condition A, B and C. Okay. And B or C is one sub expression and connected with A. So this is somewhat let's say complex predicate for software. Okay. So here just tell me that how many combination will be there, means with this 3 atomic condition. So answer is 2 to the power 8, means in general if you go with multiple condition coverage you have to do 2 to the power 3 combinations. So total 8 will come. Okay. But as soon as you will do with MCDC, the way I actually told you in the last example, you need to draw this extended truth table, and finally you can find that minimal test cases can be like this: TC2, TC3, TC4 and TC5. Only 4 test cases are important among 8 test cases. So this shows that from 8 test cases you came to 4 test cases, and this is somewhat linearity. Now we discuss about introduction, we discuss about background, survey, example, everything we did, right? What is the solution to solve MCDC test case generation? That is a question in our mind, right? So this is the answer. Means this slide number 45, where I have this architecture as a solution. So ultimately, let's say my target program is C program, where actually I'm converting it to assembly code, that is LLVM IR. Okay, so what I need to do, I need to supply let's say different targets to dynamic symbolic executor. So dynamic symbolic executor is nothing but test case generator or path explorer. So it tries to explore paths but trying to generate test cases. So what is test case? If one path is getting created, and if it is one feasible path, then it is returning one test input for you. Okay, so this thing actually we have to do in dynamic symbolic execution, but we are using dynamic symbolic execution to solve our problem. Okay, so sequence generator module is our main, not main, but one component which is actually trying to solve the problem of MCDC. So we have to give something to dynamic symbolic execution, and sequence generator is doing that. So we are generating sequences. So one sequence is nothing but one subpath which actually deals with this one column. Means let's say A, B, C. Okay. So this is one sequence actually we are getting true, 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 false, 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 true. So this thing actually we are trying to compute from sequence generator. Okay, this is what I mean to say here. Now we have sequence generator, and a lot of sequences we generated from the program. We have to annotate it. What is annotate? It means we cannot directly give program to dynamic symbolic executor. We have to ask something to do to dynamic symbolic executor, and what we supposed to do, we are marking somewhere in the code, in assembly code, that this particular path I want, this particular path I want. Okay, and the way actually we are marking, I will be showing in the next slide, that marking is actually done by this annotator, okay, from sequence generator and on LLVM IR. So after processing from annotator, okay, means I have updated assembly code, updated LLVM IRs. Those LLVM IR actually I'm supplying it to dynamic symbolic executor, and dynamic symbolic executor tries to solve the problem for me, and it is showing that okay, these are the feasible sequences I found, these are the, let's say, targets reached, and as soon as those targets are getting reached and those sequences have been found, I am actually let's say computing as my MCDC sequences got found. Means I have generated MCDC test case, and at last collecting all those sequences, all those test cases, I am producing as MCDC set of. Okay, so whatever I said is here in this slide, and you can look at it. So this is the annotator. What actually this is the part of sequence generator. I mean to say is the way actually we are generating sequences. This is the style of annotator. So we know control flow graph. LLVM IR is actually control flow graph, CFG, and we can modify CFG based on us, right? Means it's not changing the semantic. But these red color arithmetic formulas are nothing but the important, let's say, formulas. At last we are actually getting to know whether which part is actually getting traversed or not. Okay, so this is the way how we are annotating. So for, let's say, if the truth value is true, then I am using k into k, sorry, k equal to k into 10 plus 1. So you see here this formula, right? Let's say this formula. Sorry. Let's say this formula. K equal to K into 10 plus 1. It says that B is less than 0 is reachable, is feasible. Okay. So this formula we have inserted and we computed the value of K, which was set as 0 from starting. Then we say that we are talking about first sequence, right? T cross T. Okay. So first T is for this arithmetic formula. Second cross, that is don't care, means it got short circuited, and the formula is K equal to K into 10. If you mean you don't add anything here. Okay. And as soon as you go there, means D is less than 0, you have another formula, means this one T, right? Means S1. I'm talking about S1. So this formula is coming there, K equal to K into 10 plus 1. So this will say at last true, don't care, true. And in terms of, let's say, this value, it will be like 101. And if you are aware about program analysis area, so assertion marking are very important, and assertion, let's say, says that if this ghost variable K not belonging to, let's say, not equal to 101, and in reality it is belonging, it means I have found that particular. So this is what nothing but annotator I mean. So let me go with the first idea. So my first idea, and I think I have just 10 minutes left. So I will be little bit faster. So first idea is test case generation using dynamic symbolic execution. It's very huge tool, and since 30 years people are working in this tool, and this is somewhat state of art in our domain. Nothing to do. Whatever sequences we have annotated, we have to supply it to dynamic symbolic executor, and we need to search for them, and it will give at last test suite. You can see this algorithm says test suite. Okay, so this test suite is nothing but test case generated from CLI. Okay, but what is the problem with CLI? CLI tries to explore everything, but there is no, let's say, subsumption, or there is no time saving thing there. Okay, you can see picture A says if in state S0, program point S0, and here you have program point S1. If you have done something bottom there under S0, again, if same program point is appearing on right hand side, you need to redo it. Okay, so this is what CLI usually does. So by doing this, you get actually problem of path explosion. Okay, that is the issue. So what is the idea? In second part, in B figure, you can see if in program point S0 you traverse already and you store some interpolant formula from here. So this psi 0 says interpolant formula, and in S1 program point coming from top, if you have context at stored at S1, and you implies mathematically that S1 belong, let's say S1 tending to psi 0, means those both are same, they are implying together. It means you no need to do this S1 thing, this S1 triangle, and you can save a lot of time. And by doing this, you can save very, let's say, uh, very huge time, actually exponential time you are going to save. This is called as pruning. Okay, pruning of dynamic symbolic execution. And there are existing work on this thing. So CBMC is a verifier. This is also one state of art which actually does interpolation. This, sorry, pruning. And tracer is also our older paper. I was not in the this paper, but my professor has this tracer paper. So that was the traditional pruning algorithm they had. For this paper, the paper which actually we publish and I'm presenting the result now, is actually on the custom interpolation. So maybe this is a little bit difficult to, let's say, explain this particular thing. But I want to, in short term, I want to tell you that whenever we are exploring this execution tree, and whenever we are visiting any program point, we try to store custom interpolation. Custom is our, let's say, customized type of interpolation, which is somewhat better than the traditional interpolation, right? So this will help us to save more time, okay, and achieve higher, let's say, number of sequences faster. So this is what the idea in custom interpolation. You can see in this execution tree, we save, let's say we already visited this node 5a, okay, and we supposed to explore 5b, but we are not doing because we whatever the sequences we wanted to find, it we have already found within 5a, and that kind of intelligence we have in this custom interpolation technology. And then 5b is no need to explore, and then later this orange dash arrow you are seeing, right? So this shows that custom interpolation helping us to subsume this tree, okay. And in near future we no need to actually traverse, and based on this proof and based on this idea, actually we are saving a huge amount of time. So coming to experimental, quickly let me explain you our result. So we compare our method with CLI baseline. We let's say divided our group, let's say result in three different groups: group one, group two, and group three. Ultimately, we want to let's say compare our performance, that execution time, based on the total number of proved your sequences, MCDC sequences. Okay. So in group one, I have baseline and our method finished in timeout of 1 hour. So our timeout set was 1 hour. In group two, again 1 hour, but baseline did not finish and we finished. And in group three, even baseline and our method did not, let's say, finish, but we extended 2 hours timeout. And after that, baseline is still not finished and we have finished. So finish means to say that you completed your job, and not finish, it means you will take some more time to finish it. Okay. So whoever will finish faster, they are actually better. That is the analogy from here we can get it. So this is the group one. Let me describe you. I have 4 more minutes. So let me describe you about this table. So this table says first column is program name, second column is size, line of code. Third column has triplet, where hash P says total number of predicates, hash C says total number of atomic conditions, hash S deals with total number of sequences. And in this baseline and our method, we have 2 columns. First column is hash T, which is time in seconds, and second column is triplet again, which says hash F, which is feasible sequences found, hash I, which is infeasible sequences proved, hash U says unknown sequences, mean we don't know about this. Okay. Now, when you will compare it, then you will see that for this small program, baseline is also doing something good for some cases. For TCAS program, you see baseline has 4.9 time, let's say execution time, and our method has 6. Okay, and Zodac has 1.2 and our method is 1.1, almost same. But as soon as let's say you come to this Nishnu, baseline has 257 seconds and we have 1752. So this is very bad result for us. And you can see means sequences are same. Okay, means I'm showing you here bad result for us because they are not big program, they are small program. I kept group one, I kept small program in group one. Okay, so Nishnu is actually doing very good with baseline, but not in our method. It says that it has a lot of infeasible path, and if you have a lot of infeasible path, our method may not perform well. But as soon as you come to this kind of program, PALS 3 and this P28, which is the RERS program, here you can see baseline takes 10.9 seconds and we took 3.15 seconds. And baseline took 3,300 seconds and we took 1,400 seconds, almost 50%. So these kind of programs are actually helping us to show our better performance. Okay, so as soon as we go to let's say group 2, where actually we have some bigger program or some complex program. Bigger program doesn't mean that based on line of code only. Bigger program says with the loop also, because execution tree will get created, so you have to unroll the loop, and as soon as you will unroll the loop, based on that size, your performance will actually very vary, and you can able to compare it. So here you can see for all the program we are winning, because Infinity says it has heat timeout of 1 hour. Okay, so none of the program actually baseline has good number, but we have finished and we have very good number actually here. And comparison also you can make that how far we are. Let's say our method has lot of feasible and infeasible sequences proved, and baseline is very few. Now come to group 3. In 1 minute, let me finish it. So in group 3, what had happened when we ran our method and baseline with this set of programs, then we found that we are also hitting timeout of 1 hour. Then we extended the timeout to 2 hours, and we wanted to see that whether our method can finish or not. Baseline is of course not doing good. Baseline is not doing very good, but we have to see whether our method is able to do or not. Then what I have found that uh, our method is actually finishing in this seconds, let's say 6700 seconds, which is somewhat near to 2 hours timeout. Okay, and we are having all the targets achieved. Only one program we are also not finished, where you can compare that our feasible sequences are 7 number more than let's say this. Okay. So concluding, idea of generating test input for MCDC using dynamic symbolic execution is very useful, and our custom is clearly superior as compared to baseline. And in particular, custom terminates on most of our example with baseline do not terminate. Okay. Furthermore, we have observed that as the program get larger in size of the SET, that symbolic execution tree, the gap between our method and baseline approach is wider. What it means? It means baseline may be suitable for smaller program, and our method will pay off for a smaller program. Means we may be hampering our let's say tool for a smaller program, but from our experimental result and our idea, at least we can increase our confidence that for larger program we will be actually better. Okay. Then program analysis technique such as dynamic symbolic execution. DSE stands for dynamic symbolic execution. You should remember this. Okay. And MCDC stands for modified condition decentralization. These two terminologies are important for this lecture. Okay. Is useful for program testing. Hence, program analysis and testing is a recent trend in software testing domain and should be practiced as well as in medical domain. What actually I wanted to relate and map from my talk with medical domain. Okay. So some references are here, which actually I usually refer, and this paper actually got published in ICSE. You can see, let's say, 6th number reference where actually it is there, and it was short paper, not full length paper, but ICSE has a good impact in our domain, and it's a ESTA conference, very good. And we also participated in one competition. So in CLE 2020, so CLE, the baseline actually I showed you. So they started their own event of competition. So they actually we participated and we published there as well. And I have taken, yeah, and this paper also presented here in reference number 5, FAS. So this is also one competition actually we participated. We did not hold in rank, let's say higher rank. We were in 6th rank. Okay, we were not that much good, and this is because of I blame not to technology. I blame to settings of competitor. Let's say so, not competitor, organizer. Means it matters with your memory and RAM and timeout. It really matters. Let's say if you give me 1 hour of sufficient time for running one program, and if you give me only 5 minutes, it won't work actually. So I require sufficient time and memory, RAM, so that I can work well. So this is what actually we also observed, that how we are better and where actually we need to improve. And the programs actually I have taken are from 8 and 9, SVCOM benchmarks and RARS, that is reactive benchmarks are there. So I have referred from there. Okay, so last disclaimer that this definitely this video will be uploaded. So this is only academic research we made, and there is no intention of any, let's say, promoting anything to any tool or any technique. Okay. So thank you very much to the organizer, and I think it was a wonderful event for you all participants. And I'm very happy to connect with you all. And hand over to Dr. Sanjay.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. So if any participant want to ask any question, they can unmute or they can post the question in the chat box. please post questions in the chat box or unmute and ask.
Dr. Sanjay, you are audible.
Yeah. Sanjay sir,
Yes,
the
please, sir.
participants are not having any questions, so yeah, the participants may not have any questions with Professor Goodwale. If they have, then they may directly interact with Goodwale sir also. So
Yes.
we may go ahead with
There is
feedback
a
session and
question. Sir, there is
exam
a
also, sir.
question.
Okay.
So, Dr. Godbole, there is a question that
Yeah, please go ahead.
somebody is asking to highlight the DSE.
Okay. So DSC stands for dynamic. Can I answer, Dr. Sanjay?
Yes.
Yeah. So DSC stands for dynamic symbolic execution. This is the let's say the baseline. I actually told you that click. It is based on that technique. Okay. Ultimately, in dynamic symbolic execution, you have all the variables that user-defined variables taken as symbolic. Okay. And for those let's say variables, you are trying to make constraint. So one long path you are finding in execution tree, and this path is actually set or unset. Then you are calling, let's say, any constraint solver to solve this. If it is satisfiable, okay, if that particular long constraint, long formula is satisfiable, then you are generating test input. If it is unsatisfiable, then it is an infeasible path. So dynamic symbolic execution tries to explore all the paths in your program, and path by path you are sending it to constraint solver and trying to check whether this path holds or not, or path is feasible or not. Okay, that is dynamic symbolic execution. And somewhere it is also can be related to as concolic testing, means concrete as well as symbolic testing. Okay, yeah. Any other question? Hello. Yeah. Any other question?
Another question is by Dr. Dipali that can we use BAN logic for testing IOMT, Internet of Medical Things?
What is band
BAN
logic?
logic.
Means what is full form of that? Ms. Dipali, can you tell me the full form of band?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It is the name of three scientists, Burroughs, Abaji, and Nildam. They have implemented one logic, and it is used to check for the uh, uh, validations of IoT things. So, just it is used for validation.
I
So
see.
that's why.
So sorry for that. Means I'm not aware about that band logic. Definitely, this will help me to understand this. I will go through with this. But at the moment, I am not sure about this band logic. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. No problem.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you very much, Dr. Godbole, for your informative session. So this is all about our session. Then I request I request all the participants to make sure that they have good internet connectivity for the next one. That is our feedback session and examination. But before going to the feedback and examination section, first I want to request our participant to tell how they feel this workshop, because this is a valedictory function hour, the last part of our program. So can anybody please give any oral feedback? Obviously, we are going to give written feedback, but if anybody want to share anything, so you can unmute and say, so that we will record it and we can give to CSI. So please, any participant want to give oral feedback? We'll take 5 participants at least. Can anybody unmute and yes, Dr. Chintan,
Uh,
but please.
Sir, can I give my feedback? Okay.
Dr.
Chintan sir,
Chintan,
you can go ahead, sir. Chintan sir,
yes,
you can go ahead.
Dr. Chintan, but please.
Yeah, Dr. Sanjay sir, Dr. Brojo sir, and every expert and organizer team. This is really a good workshop. The few points I want to highlight that we can say time management of each and every session that was really good enough. Means at a exact time they are starting, and as and when required they are completing. Obviously, extending the session for more knowledge sharing concept. And another thing is nothing but at the end of day they are sending the recording and the slide of each and every session, which help us to revise the content also. So obviously there are really good management from your side, experts are really good enough, and hope we can continue this knowledge sharing using this group also, because obviously this group is meant for current knowledge sharing as well as future also. Thank you very much.
Welcome, sir.
Excuse me.
Any other participant?
Yes. Hello.
Yes, sir. Please.
Yeah. What the doctor just now told, I agree with him completely. But I want to add one more thing, that actually my background is not pure computer science, but still the people who deliver the lecture, they start from the bottom part, such a fundamental thing which make me very easy to understand. So just I want to add this point to that. Thank you very much.
Welcome, sir. Any other participant, please?
Sir, I want to share my feedback.
Yes. Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Okay.
please.
Sir, actually, I want to thank all the organizers for organizing such a wonderful event. And it is need of the hour that we all are in lockdown from March due to this corona problem. And you have taken very good topic, that Internet of Medical Things. Internet of Things, everyone is knowing, but Internet of Medical Thing, it is the you can say very vast topic, and future is very bright if we learn what is the Internet of Medical Things. So thanks to organizer. And regarding experts are too good. They have shared very good information with us, so that we can also start thinking related to Internet of Medical Things. And as Chintan sir said, that time management is very good, very good. And it is very nice session. Thank you, sir. Thank you, organizers. Thank you.
Welcome, madam.